Hi there, class. I'm here to tell you a story about how when I was younger, I always had this dream of going to the beach and swimming with dolphins. I don't know why, but I just always had that dream. I had never been to the beach. I didn't know what it was like. And so I'd always go to my parents. I'd be like, Mom, Dad, take me to the beach. Let's go. And they'd be like, not this time, son. Next time. Some other day. Until that day came. They came to me and they said, Chase, we're going on vacation. I said, where? They said, Galveston Beach. I was so excited. We got in the car and we went. Once we got there, I was shocked. It was dirty. I couldn't see the floor of the sea, and I'm pretty sure there was some kind of chemical imbalance going on. The reason this is important is because we're going to be talking about conservation today. Conservation is the most pressing matter on this planet. In 25 years, over half of the planet's remaining ecology will have been destroyed with no chance of revival. We are past the point of no return, and if the correct steps aren't taken now, everything will pay. You might be thinking, so what? 50% of the world's ecology is so what? The main points I'm going to be speaking about today is kind of touching on the history of conservation a little, just to get you understanding what's going on. I'm going to move on to the individual ecosystems that are affected, and then I'm going to move on to kind of the economy and how we handle the backlash. First up, history. The start of conservation kind of started in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, also known as the Progressive Era, with the leading conservationist being Theodore Roosevelt. He created the first preserved territories, actually claiming security for 42 million acres across the United States after signing the 1906 Antiquities Act. Another early geologist or educator, conservationist, Charles Richard Van Hise, actually goes in depth. He worked side by side with Roosevelt, actually. He goes in depth in one of his books how conservation isn't just a single problem like water or earth or pollutants and whatnot. It's actually all that combined, and it's kind of hard to grasp all at once. We're going to move on to the individual ecosystems now. I'm going to be covering the marine ecosystems just because everything else is too much to cover in one video. So I'm going to be talking about coral reefs. Coral reefs actually cover less than 1% of the Earth's surface. However, still produce about 50% of the oxygen we use and absorb up to 25% of the planet's carbon dioxide, as well as being home to about 30% of the planet's marine life. Karen Zariak, senior writer for the New York Times, actually highlights an action some communities are taking in order to save their native ecology. She explains that state governments, including like Florida and Hawaii, are banning the use of sunscreen with certain chemicals that aren't good for the coral reefs. They have damaging, destructive effects. You know what all that means. Ultimately, it's not that big of a drop-off considering how much they could lose per year. It costs not only precious life, but huge tourist revenue. We miss out on all that life and all the benefits that coral reefs bring. Now moving on to the economic effect that we get the backlash of kind of damaging these coral reefs. With the increasing destruction of coral reefs, David Halvarg, an author and executive director at Blue Frontier, explains how some communities actually rely entirely on their sea exports, tourist revenue, and all that kind of stuff. Like certain places, people don't go there. I mean, obviously people live in everywhere, but big tourist places like Maine, whatever, you know, you want to go there, you want to eat, you want to see some monuments and whatnot. And if that's not around, or like Miami, no one wants to go to Miami if you can't be on the beach. Like, it doesn't make sense. Taking the beauty out of what we call a home kind of defeats the purpose. So moving on to the conclusion, you might be thinking, so what can I do? Turn off the little water whenever I'm brushing my teeth? No. Diana Ruiz actually did a study. She works with the Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology to test the turning off the tap method and its legitimacy. And although a great idea at first glance, you know, we all do a small part and it makes a big thing, you know, it doesn't actually work in reality. Something as measly turning off the sink between brushing your teeth doesn't make a big impact compared to the expansive agricultural foundation that America was built on. So, in summary, we have learned a lot about the roots of conservation that run deep, you know, Theodore Roosevelt, Van Hise, and then we know that it's not just one solid argument. It's, you say one thing, it kind of brings like a third party of arguments and fourth party, and it's all just like a sloppy sand castle in your hands, and you can't really hold all of it up. And that's where it all comes back to us. The answer isn't as easy as turning off the tap or as hard as going to a third world country and cleaning up an oil spill, but a good step in the right direction is being involved in your community, your politics, and really, I mean, if Teddy could do it, why can't you?